Once upon a time, in the shadowy corners of folklore and legend, there existed a creature that would send shivers down the spines of those who dared to listen. These creatures were known as ghouls, and their origins are a haunting tale of fear, death, and the human imagination. The story of ghouls finds its roots in the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula, where ancient Arab folklore first breathed life into these malevolent beings. In the heart of the arid sands, tales were woven of creatures that lurked in the dunes, waiting to prey upon unsuspecting travelers. The ghoul, or ghoul in Arabic, was born from these stories, and it became a creature of fear and fascination. But what exactly is a ghoul? In Arabian folklore, ghouls were believed to be shape-shifting entities, often taking on the guise of a beautiful woman to lure travelers away from their path. Once their victims were ensnared, the ghoul would reveal its true, gruesome form, a hideous, flesh-eating monster with an insatiable appetite for human flesh. These beings were said to dwell in burial grounds, feasting on the corpses of the recently deceased. The ghoul myth was further intertwined with the belief in jinn, supernatural beings of great power, both good and evil. Ghouls were often considered a subset of these malevolent jinn, associated with death and the macabre. Their sinister reputation grew, and they became symbols of all that was feared in the darkness of the desert night. As tales of ghouls spread beyond the Arabian Peninsula, they took on different forms and characteristics in various cultures. In ancient Persia, for example, they were known as devs, and in India, they were called shurails. Despite the cultural variations, the core theme remained consistent. Ghouls were nightmarish creatures associated with death and the afterlife. So, how did these myths come to be? The origins of the ghoul myth are shrouded in the mists of time, but they likely stem from a combination of factors. The harsh desert environment of the Arabian Peninsula, with its unforgiving heat, vast stretches of sand, and eerie silence, provided a perfect breeding ground for stories of the supernatural. The scarcity of water and the ever-present danger of becoming lost in the desert contributed to a pervasive sense of vulnerability, which found expression in these tales of malevolent beings. Furthermore, the ghoul myth may have been influenced by the ancient practice of burying the dead in shallow graves due to the difficulty of digging deep in the desert's hard, rocky terrain. Shallow graves meant that corpses were sometimes unearthed by scavenging animals, creating a grisly spectacle that could easily be interpreted as the work of supernatural creatures. As centuries passed, the ghoul myth spread beyond the Arabian Peninsula, taking root in the imaginations of people across the world. It became a symbol of the primal fear of the unknown, lurking in the darkness, waiting to consume the living. Over time, ghouls evolved from mere desert-dwelling monsters into iconic figures of horror, featuring prominently in literature, cinema, and popular culture. In the end, the origin of ghouls can be traced back to a combination of the harsh desert environment, cultural beliefs, and the human need to explain the unexplainable. They are a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring allure of the macabre, haunting our dreams and reminding us that even in the darkest corners of our imagination, there are things that go bump in the night. Ghouls, those ominous creatures of myth and legend, are not known to have lofty ambitions or grand goals like humans do. They do not seek power, wealth, or dominion over the world. Instead, their desires are primal, driven by their insatiable hunger for one thing: human flesh. In the dark recesses of folklore, ghouls are depicted as creatures of voracious appetite, their primary goal being to feast upon the flesh of the living and the dead. It's a gruesome objective, to say the least, and their pursuit of it is relentless. Ghouls are often associated with burial grounds and cemeteries, where they are said to prowl in search of fresh corpses to devour. One might wonder why ghouls are so fixated on human flesh. The answer lies in their nature as creatures born of death and decay. In many cultures, they are seen as the embodiment of the darker aspects of mortality, and their consumption of human flesh is believed to sustain them, granting them a grotesque form of immortality. Some legends even suggest that ghouls can absorb the memories and experiences of their victims through their consumption, making their hunger for human flesh all the more insidious. Despite their singular and macabre goal, ghouls are not entirely mindless. They possess a cunning and stealthiness that enables them to carry out their gruesome activities without detection. They are known to mimic the appearance of humans or other creatures to lure potential victims into their grasp. In some tales, they are even capable of shape-shifting, taking on various forms to deceive and ensnare those who venture too close to their lairs. While their overarching goal may be straightforward, satisfying their insatiable hunger, ghouls are not entirely devoid of variation in their actions and behavior. In different cultures and tales, they may exhibit subtle differences in their modus operandi. Some stories portray them as malevolent beings who delight in terrorizing and tormenting the living, while others depict them as pitiable, cursed souls forced into their grisly existence. In essence, the goals of ghouls are chillingly simple: to feed upon the living and the dead, perpetuating their nightmarish existence. Their existence revolves around this sinister objective, making them enduring symbols of horror in the realm of myth and folklore. And as long as tales of ghouls continue to haunt our imaginations, their dreadful hunger will persist in the darkest corners of our fears. Ghouls, those enigmatic and eerie creatures of myth, are typically portrayed as solitary predators in most legends and folklore. They are the stuff of nightmares, lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting victims. However, when it comes to the concept of a structured ghoul society with a clear hierarchy, the information is sparse, as these beings are often depicted as lone hunters. Nonetheless, there are some intriguing variations and interpretations in certain tales that offer a glimpse into the notion of ghouls coming together in a loose society of sorts. In some stories, ghouls are described as having a rudimentary social structure, albeit a rather primitive one. These narratives suggest that ghouls may form loose packs or groups, driven by their shared hunger for human flesh. Within these groups, there may be an informal hierarchy based on factors such as age, size, or dominance. The dominant ghouls would likely have preferential access to fresh prey, while the weaker members might have to scavenge for leftovers or less desirable remains. Additionally, some variations of ghoul lore hint at the possibility of familial bonds among these creatures. In these tales, ghouls may be portrayed as reproducing, with adult ghouls caring for their offspring until they are old enough to join the hunt. This familial structure could potentially give rise to a kind of generational hierarchy, where older and more experienced ghouls hold sway over the younger and less seasoned ones. It's important to note that the concept of ghoul society is not as well-defined or elaborate as that of other mythical creatures like vampires or werewolves, which have rich fictional traditions and established hierarchies. Ghouls remain elusive and mysterious, often depicted as lone predators that prowl cemeteries, tombs, and other places associated with death. In the absence of a well-documented society, ghouls are typically portrayed as solitary hunters, each fending for themselves and driven by their insatiable hunger. Their interactions with other ghouls, if they occur at all, are usually limited to territorial disputes or conflicts over access to fresh corpses. In the realm of folklore and horror fiction, ghouls are designed to invoke fear and revulsion, and their solitary and unpredictable nature plays a significant role in achieving this effect. They are creatures that exist on the fringes of human understanding, lurking in the darkness, and defying easy categorization. And as long as the enigma of ghouls endures, their society, if it exists, will remain shrouded in darkness and uncertainty, much like the creatures themselves. In the eerie world of ghoul lore, there are indeed creatures and entities that are considered their adversaries, as if drawn from the pages of a supernatural drama. One of the most notable foes of ghouls is the jinn, or jinn, the mystical beings from Arabian folklore. Jinn are known to have a complex relationship with ghouls, often seen as their counterparts in the realm of supernatural entities. While ghouls are associated with death and decay, jinn are believed to embody both good and evil forces. Some legends tell of jinn who protect graves and burial sites from ghoulish intruders, acting as guardians of the deceased. Another formidable adversary of ghouls can be found in the form of religious symbols and rituals. Many cultures and belief systems have developed rituals and symbols aimed at warding off malevolent spirits and creatures, including ghouls. These may include the use of amulets, holy water, or prayers to invoke divine protection. In essence, ghouls, like other supernatural entities, are often susceptible to the powers of faith and spirituality, making them vulnerable to the defenses crafted by humans to repel them. Furthermore, in certain folkloric traditions, it's believed that ghouls are not immune to the influence of powerful shamans or spiritual leaders who possess the ability to banish or control such creatures. These individuals may possess the knowledge and skills to confront and subdue ghouls, acting as protectors of their communities. Interestingly, in some tales, ghouls may even find themselves in conflict with other supernatural beings, such as vampires or werewolves. These confrontations are often depicted as battles for territory or resources, with ghouls competing against other supernatural entities for access to prey or specific hunting grounds. While ghouls are primarily known for their relentless pursuit of human flesh, their stories are woven into a rich tapestry of supernatural beings and entities that populate the folklore of various cultures. These adversaries, whether they be jinn, human rituals, or other supernatural creatures, add depth and complexity to the dark and mysterious world of ghouls, where the line between the living and the dead is blurred, and where fear and fascination intertwine in a dance as old as human imagination itself. In the shadowy world of ghoul lore, tales of those who hunt these malevolent creatures do exist, although they are not as well documented as the exploits of vampire hunters or werewolf hunters. Ghoul hunters, when they do appear in legends and folklore, are typically depicted as individuals with a deep knowledge of the supernatural and a keen understanding of ghoul behavior. Ghoul hunters are often portrayed as scholars and researchers who spend years studying the habits, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities of ghouls. They delve into ancient texts, folklore, and first-hand accounts to gain insights into these creatures' behaviors and patterns. Ghoul hunters employ various methods to detect the presence of ghouls. These methods might include the use of talismans or amulets believed to react in the presence of ghouls, divination techniques, or even the observation of unusual animal behavior. Once a ghoul's presence is suspected, skilled hunters will track their movements, often relying on their knowledge of burial sites and cemetery locations. When confronting ghouls, hunters often arm themselves with specialized weapons and tools. These may include silver or blessed weapons, as ghouls are sometimes believed to be vulnerable to such materials. Additionally, Hunters may carry items like salt, holy water, and protective charms to create barriers or ward off ghouls. Some ghoul hunters employ elaborate baiting and trapping techniques to lure ghouls into a vulnerable position. This might involve the use of decoy corpses or other items that ghouls find enticing. Once a ghoul is drawn in, the hunter can then attempt to incapacitate or destroy it. Successful ghoul hunters are well versed in the vulnerabilities of these creatures. They understand that ghouls are often believed to be repelled by religious symbols, can be weakened by sunlight, or may have difficulty crossing bodies of water. Hunters use this knowledge to their advantage when planning their confrontations. In some cases, ghoul hunters may possess the ability to perform exorcisms or banishment rituals. These rituals are intended to drive the ghouls away or to release any human souls that may have been trapped or tormented by the creatures. It's important to note that the concept of ghoul hunting is not as widespread or well documented as the hunting of other supernatural creatures in folklore. The stories and traditions surrounding ghoul hunters can vary greatly from culture to culture, and the effectiveness of their methods often depends on the specific beliefs and rules established within a given mythos. In essence, ghoul hunters are the brave souls who dare to confront the darkness, armed with knowledge, faith, and an arsenal of tools and tactics designed to combat these malevolent beings. Their stories, while less common than those of other monster hunters, add a layer of intrigue and mystery to the already eerie realm of ghoul folklore.